It all started with a simple drive to visit her mom. My daughter, who uses a wheelchair, pulled into a quiet neighborhood, just trying to park for a few hours. Little did she know, she was stepping right into the sights of one of the most extreme HOA enforcers I've ever met. You know the type, clipboard in hand, watching from behind curtains, just waiting for someone to break the rules. The twist? We weren't even part of the HOA. That didn't stop her asterisk. Within hours, my daughter's specially equipped vehicle was towed. No warning, no conversation, just gone. And when I say this lady didn't care about her disability or the fact that the HOA doesn't even apply to us, I mean she doubled down, claimed it was her duty. But this isn't just a story about a car getting towed. This is about the moment my daughter decided she wasn't going to be pushed around anymore. Because what Karen didn't expect was that my daughter has connections, real ones. And when she called in help, she didn't just bring backup. She brought the K-9 unit . Yeah, things got real, fast. And you better believe the HOA wasn't ready for what happened next. So stick around, because this story, it's only just getting started. So here's where it all starts to unfold. My daughter had just returned from a doctor's appointment. She's been dealing with a chronic condition that affects her mobility, so every trip is already a challenge. She parked in front of my house, in a public spot, like she's done a dozen times before. We don't live in an HOA community, and we've never signed any agreement with them. But somehow, this self-appointed HOA president, who no one even voted for, by the way, decided my daughter's vehicle didn't fit the image of the neighborhood. The van has a ramp, handicap plates, and all the required permits. But none of that mattered. She called a private towing company, and within 2 hours, the van was gone. No knock on the door, no note, no warning, just vanished. My daughter was in tears, her medical equipment was inside, and worse, her service dog was supposed to be with her, but wasn't because of the quick stop. Now here's where things take a strange turn. That towing company. Turns out, it's not even one the HOA is legally allowed to use. And when we tried to call and get the van back, the guy on the other end of the phone got real defensive. That's when my daughter made one call, just one. And the moment that K-9 unit showed up, everything changed. When the K-9 unit arrived, the whole street seemed to freeze. Neighbors peeked through blinds, some even stepped out pretending to check their mail just to see what was going on. The officer in charge wasn't just there for show. Had worked with my daughter before, training her service dog after she was matched through a veterans support program. He knew her situation, and more importantly, he knew her rights. And he did not like what he was hearing. The officer started asking questions. Who authorized the tow? Where was the vehicle taken? Did anyone confirm the legality of removing a clearly marked handicap van from a public street? The HOA president, who had been watching from her porch the entire time, finally came out. She tried to play it off, saying the van was abandoned and a visual disruption. I wish I were making that up. That's when another neighbor, someone we barely knew, stepped in. Turns out, she'd had issues with the same HOA rep in the past, fines for leaving a garden hose out, frets over a holiday wreath. She'd even recorded one of their conversations. Suddenly, this wasn't just about my daughter's ban. It was about a pattern of bullying and overreach, all disguised as HOA business. But the real question now was, how deep did it go? And who else was involved? By this point, the street was buzzing. A couple more neighbors came out, quietly backing my daughter, and that brave woman who spoke up. You could feel it shifting, like people were finally tired of being pushed around by this so-called HOA president. But she wasn't backing down. She stood there, arms crossed, claiming she had every right to act because she was protecting the neighborhood. That word again, protecting . From what? A disabled van with medical gear? The K-9 officer kept things calm, but you could tell he was getting frustrated. He asked for the tow authorization paperwork. She didn't have it. Claimed it was verbal. When he asked which towing company she used, she gave a name that didn't even show up on the city's licensed list. That's when a second patrol car rolled up. Someone must have called in the heat building up on the block. Now things felt serious. We still didn't know exactly where the van was. The towing company kept dodging our calls, and the tracking info they promised never came through. My daughter was shaken, but not silent. She told her story to the officers, explained everything, how she never agreed to any HOA terms, how her vehicle was clearly marked and parked legally. One of the officers took notes, real quiet, then asked to speak to the HOA rep alone. That's when we knew something bigger was going on behind the scenes. While the officer pulled the HOA rep aside for questioning, the rest of us stayed gathered near the sidewalk, unsure of what was about to come next. But then, just when we thought things couldn't get any more twisted, my daughter's phone buzzed. It was a notification from her service dog's GPS tracker. The tag was still active, and somehow, it was pinging from behind a locked gate across town, in a storage lot not listed on any towing company website. That set off alarms. This wasn't just a shady tow anymore. This felt personal. We quickly gave the address to the officers, and the K-9 unit confirmed it was a private property not legally contracted for vehicle storage. That meant the van had been taken somewhere off the books, and my daughter's service dog gear. All of it was still inside, potentially damaged or worse. Then came the second twist. One of the neighbors who'd been quietly watching walked over and handed us an envelope. Said it had been left in his mailbox by mistake. Inside was a printed letter from the HOA, but it wasn't addressed to us. It was a copy of a complaint about undesirable visitors, dated days before my daughter even arrived. Her license plate was listed. That's when everything clicked. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. Someone had planned this. And now it wasn't just about getting the van back. It was about exposing what this HOA was really doing behind closed doors. The police wasted no time after seeing the GPS coordinates and the letter. Within an hour, they were at the storage lot, and sure enough, my daughter's van was there, parked behind a locked fence with no signage, no security, nothing official. When they forced entry under probable cause, they found the van exactly as described, except the ramp was damaged, and her service dog's harness gear had been tossed in the back like garbage. You could see it on the officer's face. This wasn't just negligence anymore. It looked deliberate. Turns out, the lot was owned by the brother of the towing company's operator, and here's the kicker. He was listed as a silent partner in the HOA's unofficial expense records. Yeah, they were towing cars from people who didn't even belong to the HOA and storing them on private land, then charging ridiculous release fees under the table. This had happened to others too, but no one had ever pushed back hard enough, until now. The van was released immediately, and my daughter was finally able to breathe again. But just when we thought it was over, the final twist hit. One of the responding officers quietly pulled us aside and said, "This isn't just about your daughter's case. There's an open investigation on this HOA for fraud." So yeah, the HOA Karen picked the wrong family this time. In the days that followed, things moved quickly. The HOA rep was formally removed from her position after a community vote. Turns out, most of the neighbors never even agreed to half the rules she'd been enforcing. The police investigation uncovered more shady dealings tied to the fake towing fees, and the lot was shut down for operating without a proper license. My daughter got her van repaired, with all damages covered by the HOA's insurance once legal pressure was applied. Her service dog was unharmed, but we still replaced all the equipment just to be safe. The best part? The neighborhood started changing. People who'd been quiet for years suddenly felt seen and heard. That one neighbor who stepped in. She and my daughter are now close friends, sharing stories and helping others understand their rights, especially when it comes to disability access and HOA overreach. Looking back, what started as a petty act of power turned into something bigger. This wasn't just about a towed van. It was about standing up when it's easier to stay silent. And if there's one thing we took away from this, It's that community gets stronger when people speak up, even if it starts with just one voice and a K-9 unit.